You know, I'm slowly but surely starting to realize that Kenneth Branagh probably really is one of those great directors that I don't think gets a whole lot of attention, because when you really look at his filmography, I know a lot of people associate him with adaptations of William Shakespeare's work or period pieces and these type of things, but he has an assortment of different genres to his name. Like, he does thrillers like Dead Again, does a movie like this, which is more of a horror movie. He does action films like Thor and Jack Ryan's Shadow Recruit. Does a family fantasy film with Cinderella. Can also do these mystery films. What he does with the Hercule Poirot series that he's been doing recently, with Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile. And he had a great film a couple years ago with Belfast, which is a really terrific film. And definitely here I could see a lot about what I like about him as a filmmaker, is that he can make something very unique, very creative with a movie like this. I've really grown to appreciate this movie more over the years. It just continues to prove my point of how Sony kind of had their own dark universe before Universal tried to create their own dark universe, because they had done different unique versions of Dracula and the Wolfman up to this point. Now you have Frankenstein here, and while it's definitely not the strongest of those three that I mentioned, this is still a pretty good adaptation. The cast overall is great. Tom Hulce, Helena Bonham Carter, Ian Holm, John Cleese, Aidan Quinn. Robert De Niro, I think, does a pretty good job playing the monster of Frankenstein. Here he's called The Creation. And it's considered the most faithful adaptation of the book, which is very interesting, because they do make a lot of differences in here that are very different from the original book, but they actually kind of work here. Like, I really enjoyed this movie a whole lot. I think it deserves a lot more attention. It's not a masterpiece by any means. There are points where it gets a little too creative for its own good. Like, it does a little too over the top, but it's still a ton of fun. I really enjoyed this movie a whole lot. I think it deserves a lot more attention than it gets. And I remember watching this and having a really good time when I saw it. This was like years and years after it came out, and it was just like, you know, I definitely see a lot of what they were trying to do here. They actually made it work pretty well. It's a very underrated film. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it, because I think you will be pleasantly surprised if you really like Branagh's work and what he's able to do with these ideas like this. I think he makes this adaptation of Frankenstein work very well, and, you know, considering some of the other Frankenstein movies that have come out since this one has come out, like the Victor Frankenstein with James McAvoy, I would say I would take this over that one any day of the week. So yeah, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. So let's move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Kevin Costner and Elijah Wood starring in the family drama The War.
Oh no! Can't you wait till we get to an intersection?
Sammy Simmons. And this is my brother Stu.
She doing anything else I should know about?
She's doing a lot of things, but I don't think you should know about it.
Ever since my dad returned from the war, things haven't quite been the same. You gotta put your arms around the woman every once in a while. She's gonna think you don't like her no more. Now, I'm giving you this advice because I can see that you just don't know what you're doing.
Do you want to do this all in saying grace?
But at least we're together again.
Dear Lord, bless this food, please.
Now it's summer in Mississippi. And us kids are building a house of our very own.
Excuse me, fat girl. Is it absolutely necessary to serenade us?
I'm on a diet, I hope you know, because I have a granular condition.
Ganosis Twinkies condition, what you got?
There's only one thing standing between us and a perfect summer.
The Web Nickies are coming!
Get lost and leave the trolley.
Hey, did you guys tell them about this place?
Of course not.
Well, you can cut off every hair in my head, but I ain't telling you ding dang dang.
No. Better not to lay claim to this here fort.
You too couple of wild Indians, aren't you?
It's self-defense, Dad.
Dark territory now.
You went to war to fight for people you didn't even know.
But in the end, I killed more people than I saved.
This is our house. Don't you think we ought to fight for it? Don't you recall a damn thing Daddy's taught us?
Boy, sometimes all it takes is a split second to do something you regret the whole rest of your life.
My mama says folks that treat people bad only do it because they're ignorant.
Excuse me.
She's gonna sit up front where she can see from now on. She ain't gonna go by color girl no more neither. I don't know about you, but all my friends had names.
Universal Pictures proudly presents Elijah Wood, Kevin Costner, in a new film from the director of Fried Green Tomatoes, The War.
I hope you know them the kids that just beat me up.
I know who they are, son.
Well, then why don't you just give them Mom and Lydia's cotton candy?
Because it looked like they hadn't been given nothing in a long time.
My daddy once said of fighting, we meant for better things, you and I.
I have to admit, that is actually one of the stronger moments of the movie, where Costner gives the kids that are bullying his son the cotton candy, and Elijah Wood's just like, why'd you give him the cotton candy for? And he's like, because they look like they haven't been given anything in a long time. It's just like, that's a very thought-provoking little bit of writing there. I just wish I think a lot of us wish the rest of the movie was like that, but most of this movie is just kind of sappiness. I think the best element of the movie is that father-son bond. Kevin Costner and Elijah Wood playing the father and son here, and it works pretty well. But where I think the movie kind of falls apart is the fact that they keep throwing in these little side plots. It gets a little bit too preachy. Like, you have that scene where the little girl is standing up for the black girl in the classroom, which, it's not a bad scene in particular, but it just kind of feels forced into it. It's just like, there isn't really a good idea of what kind of a story they really wanted to tell. Like, you have a family drama, but you also want to bring in this PTSD from war trauma and all that type of stuff, and it doesn't quite work. This is directed by John Avnet, who also did Fried Green Tomatoes, which was a pretty good film overall, but when I look at this movie, I think a lot of the problems with it comes in the fact that they want to try to explain way too much more than their intentions were. Like, if you stuck to one single premise to this, maybe there would have been something interesting here. But other than that, though, I think the only reason you should see this movie is to see the chemistry between Costner and Wood, his father and son. But other than that, I think this is a pretty sappy, mediocre film that just tries to be way too much. It has the feel of an Oscar baitish type of film, and it definitely shows. It's a movie that unfortunately does not hold up very well. So that's The War. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Double Dragon.
2007.
The mystical powers of the dragon are dangerous for one person to possess.
Power.
All right, so where's the on button?
Justice.
It is our responsibility to protect the dragon.
Darkness. This is only half. Find me the other half. Light.
Let's kick some butt.
Double Dragon. Double Dragon.
Remember the days when we used to have a ton of video game movies come out and most of them ended up being terrible? Well, technically you can kind of say that now, but nowadays we have better movies, like the Angry Birds movies, the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, Detective Pikachu. I'll even go as far as to say the Alicia Vikander Tomb Raider film that came out a couple years ago, but excuse me. But yeah, this is not a good movie. This is a film that you can clearly tell that the people who made this movie had no real idea what the video game was about. They only just took little bits and pieces on the video game, put them into a story that was very lackluster, tried to be another wannabe Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and just fell apart on so many levels. Like, it really feels like the people that made this movie had no real intention of what the game was about, or wanted to make something unique or different, and just said, slap Double Dragon on it and people will come to see it. Well, guess what? People didn't come and see it. It bombed pretty badly, and even the people that were involved with the movie look back on this movie and say, yeah, that was a really bad idea. And it's just like, it really is a bad idea, and it would help if the situations were funnier, if the situations more dire, but these villains that they have here are not threatening whatsoever. Like, these gangs that they keep coming in here are just really badly written. They're not intimidating whatsoever. Nothing about this makes any sense at all. And, like, it doesn't help when you even put the Double Dragon video game in the Double Dragon universe. It's just like, the universe should have just crumbled in on itself at that point. I mean, come on. It's just like, yeah, this is a terrible, terrible movie. And I think everybody involved knows it's a terrible, terrible movie. And, quite honestly, I don't know how you could adapt Double Dragon nowadays and make it into a serious movie, like something on the lines of what they've been trying to do with Mortal Kombat. But, I don't know, maybe it could be done. Who knows? Maybe there's somebody out there who could do it just that. But until that day comes, we have this piece of junk right here. And that is, of course, the horrors of the Double Dragon 1994 movie. So that's Double Dragon. Let's move on to the next movie, and that is David Mamet's Oleana with William H. Macy.
Understand what anything means. And I walk around from morning till night with this one thought in my head. I'm stupid.
No one thinks you're stupid.
No, what am I?
I think you're angry. Many people are.
I want to know about my grade.
Carol,
I have to pass this course.
Well,
I have to pass it.
What do you want me to do? What is it you would have
How
to do?
can I go back and tell them the grades that
I'm sorry for you.
You told me to buy your book and read it. Everything you say,
Look,
everything.
I'm not your father. We'll start the whole course over. Your final grade is an A.
But the class is only half over.
Your grade for the whole term is an A, if you will come back and meet with me.
Why would you do this for me?
I like you.
What is everyone talking about? I don't understand. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means to be here. You tell me I'm intelligent, and then you tell me I should not be here. I don't understand. What do you mean? Listen to me.
Easy.
Closeted with a student, moved to embrace said student. He put his arms around her.
Do you deny it?
Do you know that I tried to help you?
What I know I have reported.
Don't you have feelings?
I have a responsibility. To my group.
Your group?
You are to be disciplined. That is what the tenure committee has said.
They're going to discharge me.
Do you know what you've worked for? Power!
What have I done to you?
I mean, I've talked about before how much I've liked David Mamet's work over the last couple of the years that we've looked at some of the movies that have come out. But this is one of those ones where I saw it. I saw it a couple years ago because I wanted to see some Mamet films. And this is one of those ones I think is very polarizing, largely because of... I don't think that David Mamet did a very good job of making both sides of the argument work out as well as they do. It's just kind of like it's one of the... Like, it basically feels like the feature film adaptation of that commercial that used to play on TV in the 90s where the woman is just like, we're talking about sexual harassment and I'm not going to take it. It just kind of feels like that. Maybe it's like the whole idea is that you're supposed to decide which side is doing what. Like who's right in the situation. And if you think you know what it is, you're wrong. And I don't think the movie does a very good job of clearly trying to give us an idea of which one is the right direction we should go. Which character should we be rooting for? And, you know, despite the best efforts of William H. Macy, who actually reprises his role from the play that they did, and it really doesn't have that same spark. Like, it feels like maybe on Broadway, maybe on a play, that maybe this could actually work out better. But in terms of a movie, like, I feel like this movie is trying a little too hard to try to get its point across, which is interesting because we looked at a movie that Mamet wrote a couple of weeks ago with Vanya on 42nd Street, which basically took place on one set, and that was much more compelling, that was much more intriguing because you like those characters more. Here, you just really don't like either one of these characters whatsoever. Like, you want to root for the right person, but you just don't feel that intensity and that spark, and even when it gets to the end, when you finally are supposed to figure it out, it doesn't really give you a good idea of what the purpose was in the end. It's just kind of like, yeah, it really is a missed opportunity. And David Mamet has not usually had a ton of missed opportunities filmmaker up to this point. He has made some really good movies and written some very good movies, but this is one that I feel like probably should have just stayed on Broadway, probably should have just stayed as a play. Yeah, it's a very forgettable film, and that's a shame, too, because of what I've seen from Mammoth since then. But, so yeah, that's Oleana. Let's move on to the next movie, and that is Ted Danson and Mary Steenburgen starring in Pontiac Moon.
Why were you born? Why do you exist? Is it to spend your lives endlessly shuffling papers? No, it must be for a greater purpose. The mere fact that we're here is simply too incredible.
Another 1,776 miles, the Pontiac's mileage will match the distance to the moon exactly. I've mapped out a route for us until we reach spires of the moon. This is our chance, Andy, to be part of something. At the same moment Apollo 11 lands, we will complete the distance to the moon in the Pontiac. One perfect act.
We should just leave Mom here.
You know the kind of things that happen out there every day. You have to be so careful.
It's been 7 years since you tried to step out this door.
She's never, ever gonna leave that house.
15, 14. It's time for you to discover the world.
There's nothing like a great distance to travel to bring a family closer together.
Nothing is impossible, Andy.
Boy, it gets beautiful up here. It's really fantastic.
Lost, huh?
Not lost. Just temporarily misplaced the road, that's all.
2 to 1 they make it, 3 to 1 they chicken out and turn back, 5 to 1 they explode in outer space.
1,400 feet.
Somebody please tell me which road I take to get to the damn spires of that sky.
Laura, we coming in.
Ted Danson, Mary Steenburgen, and Ryan Todd.
What would you say is the exact distance between the two of us right now?
Pontiac Moon.
Yet another Oscar-baited movie, and probably one of the worst examples of one. Like, Ted Danson's character in this, you just feel like he's forcing them to give him an Oscar nomination for this. And, you know, Mary Steenburgen already has an Oscar to her, but even she's acting her ass off way too hard in this, and not even in a good way. There's just nothing really all that investing about this situation or this idea. Like, what is the main purpose of this story? Like, what am I supposed to get out of this? Like, okay, this father and son are going on an adventure to follow the Apollo 11 spacecraft as it's going into space and coming back from space, and at the same time, you really don't know what the end result of this is going to be. And when you get to the end result, it's just kind of like, is that really what this whole movie was about? It just feels like it's also one of those examples of a movie where you don't work with your spouse on it, because I believe, actually I don't know, Ted Danson and Mary Steenburgen were married at this point, or married in 1995, so it might have been when they met on this movie where they got together. But I don't know. Like, but even with that said, though, this is a very flimsy movie. It's not really all that investing. It's not really all that exciting. Nothing intriguing really happens in here. It's just kind of a dud, and it just feels like an Oscar baitish type movie. Like I've said before, it feels like a movie they're pushing for an Oscar, and they don't really have a good story to tell. And it definitely shows on screen here. It's a real missed opportunity on so many levels, because these two are very good actors, but just nothing there to work with. So that's Pontiac Moon. Let's move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is Floundering.
You're not connected, you're floundering. Those who linger too long over the abyss watch their moral center disappear into the fathomless depths.
It's John. Hi. Listen, you got to talk to me. I think I'm going insane.
John, I have to go.
Hello? Oh, Jessica.
Try me, punk!
You think I'm stupid enough to shoot my own TV set?
I mean, Dawson. See, the thing about spirituality, it's not mystic. It's a very possible and real function of the body.
Dose? Is that a dose, man?
Yeah, like that feeling of the wholeness and well-being, like of a great mushroom trip.
You're the devil, you're evil. I'm the devil. Yes, you are.
Take one of these. Make you feel better.
What's the matter? You're the sensitive type?
Nobody ever made a greater mistake than the one who did nothing because he thought he could only do a little.
Hooligans come in all shapes and sizes.
Never seen this movie, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but Peter McCarthy, if you don't know, he's the producer of some notable movies you saw on there: Repo Man, Sid and Nancy, I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. Just some notable movies to his name, but there's a really good cast involved in this. You've got James LaGrosse, Lisa Zane, Ethan Hawke, Kim Wayans, John Cusack, Steve Buscemi, Billy Bob Thornton, Dave Navarro, Viggo Mortensen is in here. I mean, it could be pretty good. It does have decent reviews on Rotten Tomatoes from what I've seen from it, but the premise does sound interesting enough. It sounds like an intriguing movie, so I don't know. Could be good, but I'm not going to rush out to see it right now, so that's really all I got to say about that one. Very quick one to end this one. Floundering.
What do you say we get started? So you want me to tell you the story of my life? I'll tell you my story. I'll tell you all of it. Gee, I'm flesh and blood, but not human. I haven't been human for 200 years.
From the novel by Anne Rice. From Neil Jordan, the director of The Crying Game.
I've come to answer your prayers. Life has no meaning anymore, does it?
His name is Lestat.
But what if I could give it back to you? Pluck out the pain and give you another life. One you could never imagine. I can see you lying on a bed of satin.
He chose one man. He gave him infinite power. Eternal life. And a daughter who would be forever young.
This is the only real evil left.
And then he took the light of day.
You're a vampire. You never knew what life was until it ran out in a red gush over your lips. I can't stand this any longer.
You made us what we are, didn't you?
God kills indiscriminately, and so shall we.
Do you like dying? You condemn me to hell!
Monster. Unhappy famine.
Hate her, Louis. End her suffering and yours. For do not doubt, you are a killer.
I want some more.
Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Stephen Ray, Antonio Banderas, Kirsten Dunst, and Christian Slater. Interview with the Vampire.
I mean, I'll give it this, though. It's a very good-looking film. It's definitely very gothic, very period piece-like. It's basically their intentions were trying to make a kind of the vampire equivalent to Gone with the Wind, and just on the production design alone, I think they pretty much succeeded on that front. It does feel like a grand epic-scale film. As far as the rest of the film itself goes, I just think it's okay. I don't think it's anything too amazing. It's nothing on the levels of something like Bram Stoker's Dracula or even something like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which I think are far superior. But I think this movie works okay. The performances overall are not terrible. I think the strongest person that comes out of this are two people in particular. Brad Pitt, who was just slowly but surely turning into this hot young action... It's not even action star, hot young star that was... That slowly but surely everyone was starting to realize that this guy's got some acting chops here. And him and Kirsten Dunst, this is one of her first movies that she did that kind of got her into the spotlight as an actress, and it would later go on to her career, to the career that she would have. But I don't know, everybody else in this movie is kind of phoning it in. Like Tom Cruise in particular is very much phoning it in as Lestat, and I just feel like he was just cast there because it's Tom Cruise. He's going to be the centerpiece of the film, and I mean, he's okay in the film, but he's not giving a great performance in this. Like, it feels like he's going a little too over the top in this. Christian Slater also feels like he's kind of phoning it in a little bit, as is Antonio Banderas and Stephen Ray. And I don't know. I went into this with a little bit more optimism to it, because this is one of those movies that has had a longevity since it's come out. It's been seen by most people as one of the definitive modern day vampire films. And honestly, I just don't see it. I don't think it's as strong as I think they intended it to be. If I remember right, I think Anne Rice actually disowned this version for the longest time. But, I mean, I could be wrong on that, but it also doesn't help that I just watched the new version of Interview with the Vampire they're doing now on AMC, which is the TV series, which I think is a whole lot better. I think it does a better job of expanding the story from the book and doing it a whole lot better. I think the acting there works a lot better. The visuals are okay, but the storytelling, I think, is much better told. I think that's a much better representation of that story than this particular film, even though this movie was a huge success when it came out. And it was mostly because of the star power. I mean, Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Antonio Banderas, Christian Slater, directed by the guy who did The Crying Game. I mean, there was so much there that it had to be a hit in some way, shape, or form. It was going to be a hit regardless, and it was in the same spot that Bram Stoker's Dracula was in 2 years ago. But I don't think the movie is terrible. I think there are a lot of times in the movie where the movie actually turns out to be okay, but there's nothing in here that just really wowed me, except for the performances of Pitt and Dunst. I think they were the two things that really kept the film going overall. As far as the rest of the movie itself goes, it's just it's just okay. It's one that I saw, I was just kind of like, I'm glad I saw it. I'd probably never watch it again, but I could probably see the appeal of it, but to me, it just was just like, a good film. Probably will never watch it again, unless I really get the urge to watch it again, which probably will never happen, but I mean, it's okay for what it is, but I think it could have been a whole lot better. I think the AMC series that's on right now is definitely proving that this story can be told a whole lot better. So I say definitely check that one out, but I mean, you can check this out too, and you might get something out of it. But that's Interview with the Vampire. Let's get to the other new release of the weekend, and that is Tim Allen in the holiday comedy The Santa Claus.
Dad, I heard a clatter.
Somebody's on the roof.
Maybe it's Santa.
Not now, Charlie.
This Christmas, Scott Calvin's getting into the spirit the only way he can.
Hey, you!
By accident.
If something should happen to me, put on my suit. The reindeer will know what to do.
He is Santa. You killed him.
Did not.
Check out Santa's sleigh.
When you put on the suit, you fell subject to the Santa Claus.
The Santa Claus? What does that mean?
It means you put on the suit, you're the big guy.
Santa, how come your clothes are so baggy?
Do you want this doll or not? Go back to sleep. I shave in the morning, in the afternoon, I look like this.
Oh, my God.
Calvin, your weight. What happened? Beastie. What, you put on a little weight? Does this look like a little weight to you?
You look distressed.
I'm way past distress. I'm talking to an elf.
He's not Santa.
Oh, my God.
He is too, Santa. Wait, I'm not done.
Fax me.
This is our perpetrator. This one's not going to be easy to find.
Want the bright red suit and beard give him away?
Who's down there?
Santa, your father this year.
Have a piece of fruit, for God's sake. This holiday season,
Incoming!
Tim Allen is giving till it hurts.
Johnny, naughty. Gary, nice. Veronica, very nice.
The Santa Claus.
You're a 1,200-year-old elf? You look pretty good for your age.
Thanks, but I'm seeing someone in wrapping.
So basically, this was an attempt to see if Tim Allen could take his TV success. He was on Home Improvement at this point, which was in its third season, one of the most popular shows on TV, and the whole idea is to see if Tim Allen could actually make it in movies. And turns out he could, because this movie was a gigantic hit, came out during the holidays, actually was not the #1 film in the country for a couple of weeks until Thanksgiving week, and it just took over the rest of the holidays, and not really a surprise because it's a Christmas movie, and usually Christmas movies do very well in November. I mean, there's no really other way to say it, but it's interesting the history of this movie. This was always intended to be a Tim Allen starring vehicle, but they actually went to Bill Murray and Chevy Chase for the role of Scott Calvin, which they both turned it down. Chevy Chase, due to scheduling conflicts, and Bill Murray didn't want to do another holiday film after Scrooge, which I think could have been very interesting to see what those two could have done in that role. A lot of the people here that could have been interesting in that. Tom Selleck, Tom Hanks, Mel Gibson. It's interesting, interesting casting there, possible casting there. Like, if you want to see real interesting Christmas casting, go back and look at the names of people who could have been in Home Alone with, I think at one point Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to be the dad in Home Alone, but they said, yeah, we can't, that's not going to work out. But, yeah, I'm looking at some of these names here. You got Jeff Daniels, Stanley Tucci, and Bradley Whitford up for the role of Neo, who was played in this movie by Judge Reinhold, and his Scott Calvin's ex-wife, Patricia Richardson from Home Improvement, Patricia Clarkson, Patricia Heaton, Kate Burton were all considered for this. Just interesting little bits there about how different castings almost made this movie completely different as it is. But for what it is, I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's a fun little holiday film. I don't love it as much as most people do. I think it kind of has that same kind of, I don't even want to say that. I was going to say it has that same kind of mentality as something like Hocus Pocus, which a lot of people really like, and yet I'm one of the few people that really hate the movie. I don't hate it as much as I hate that movie, but I think it's an okay film. I think it's a fun movie. I think it has fun with its concept here, like this idea that Tim Allen basically kills Santa Claus and then takes over his mantle, and then he's kind of stuck in this loophole where he has no choice but to become Santa Claus, and that's kind of part of the thing about the Santa Claus. And it's also funny to see David Krumholtz play Bernard the Elf here, even though the year before he was the little kid from Addams Family Values who fell in love with Wednesday. It's like, it's amazing how the difference between that role and that role over the course of a year, like he went from being a little kid to a kind of a teenager bordering on an adult in a matter of a year. It's just like, it's funny to see that. But I mean, like I said, it's a fun movie. I think the first half of it works a lot better than the second half. The second half's not terrible, but it kind of goes into formulaic territory. It kind of feels like there has to go through the basic setups, the basic third act conflict that we have to resolve, and at the end of the film, the final purpose conflict, the final context of the final act gets represented. I don't even know what I'm saying there, but you kind of get what I'm trying to say here. I think the first half of the movie is where the most clever parts of the movie are. The second half isn't terrible, but it just kind of falls into more formulaic territory. I think it is a solidly made film. And as far as the series goes, I think it's the strongest one of the series. The sequels do get kind of worse and worse with each film. Like Santa Claus 2, I thought was okay, but I didn't think it had... I thought it worked better altogether. But at the same time, it doesn't have that same lasting power that this first movie does. Santa Claus 3 is just kind of meh. Like, I didn't hate it as much as everybody else did, but you could tell that everybody was kind of phoning it in. And then I've watched a couple of episodes of the miniseries The Santa Clauses on Disney+. I figure, you know what, it's been almost 20 years since the last movie. Maybe they finally got it together, and they just made it more complicated than it needed to be. And, like, I haven't seen all of it, but the couple of episodes that I've seen, it's just kind of like, what are you guys trying to do with this? Like, what is the end result of this? And, yeah, I could definitely see why people were not too happy about that, but, I mean, at least the first movie still has a lot of lasting power, I should say. I mean, like I said, I like the first half better than the second half, but it does show that Tim Allen has a lot of potential as a movie star, and not every time he got it right, but there were a couple of successes here and there. Some movies did work, others not so much, but we'll get to those as we move along. But as far as this movie goes, it's a fun little film. I definitely get a chance to watch it every holiday season. It's not one of those ones I watch for religiously, like something like Christmas Vacation or A Christmas Story, like the essential Christmas specials and movies that I have to watch, but it is one that I'll pop in every once in a while to watch, and it still holds up after all these years. I mean, it is still a ton of fun. I give it a lot of credit for what it is. It's a fun holiday film. Shows Tim Allen's potential as a leading actor. The Santa Claus, need I say more?
In space, there is no beginning and no end. But in one uncharted corner of our galaxy is a corridor to another world. A nexus where time and space collide. Past and future connect. And two generations will meet to join forces in a battle to save the universe.
I take it the odds are against us and the situation is grim.
You could say that.
Sounds like fun.
Group 1, engage. Let's go.
Target their bridge! Fool disruptors!
Make it quick.
Star Trek Generations.
So, of course, Star Trek Generations is the sort of the bridge gap in the Star Trek movies. The original cast had done 6 movies already, and the next set of movies were going to center around the Next Generation crew. The Next Generation series had just ended a few months prior to this, and what better way to start it off by having this bridge where you have the original Captain Kirk coming in and joining Captain Picard, and then basically passing the baton off. I mean, you have 2 legendary captains of the Starship Enterprise, past and present, coming together on the big screen. I mean, that trailer sold you alone. It looks like he's part of the adventure and all that, and he's not really. In fact, he doesn't even really meet up with any of the other members of the Next Generation team. He just only meets up with Patrick Stewart's Captain Picard, and yeah, so already that's kind of a false marketing right there. But I'll say this though, the movie isn't terrible. There are definitely some aspects about it that do work, but you built this up as this epic crossover. You've got 2 of the most significant sci-fi characters coming together, and it eventually comes down to just one scene in which Captain Kirk, I keep saying Captain, in which Kirk and Picard are making breakfast, they're having a conversation, riding horses, and then that's it. Then the next scene, you have Kirk and Picard fighting with the villain Sauron, played by Malcolm McDowell, and Kirk doesn't do a whole lot, really. He's just kind of a distraction, really, and he ends up dying when it's all said and done. So this epic meet-up of these definitive Star Trek captains ends with one of them dying in a not-so-spectacular climax, and literally copying George Takei's "Oh my" as his dying words. I mean, is that really what you were waiting for when you saw this movie? On top of that, there's definitely a story that would work here. I think that anybody that wasn't even a Star Trek fan would like to see the original crew meet the Next Gen crew, and that seemed to be the original plan, too. I think that was the original idea. The first script they had, it was going to be Shatner, Doohan, Walter Koenig, Leonard Nimoy, DeForest Kelley, but they all decided not to appear in the film, and they felt like the script had a lot of problems to it. They couldn't get Nichelle Nichols to come back either, and so basically the only people that came back for even the brief parts in the beginning were I can't remember. No, it was Scotty and also I can't remember who it was now. Doohan. It was here I go again. Chekhov, Scotty, and Kirk. Good Lord. Like, I'm just having this brain freeze right now. I'm just as I was about to say the names, it just completely went away. But no, it was Chekhov, Scotty, and Kirk in the opening, and that's pretty much it. I mean, the only one that, it's like I said, the only one that comes back at all at the end of the film is Kirk, and even then, there's like a huge gap between the first act of this movie and the time that Picard meets Kirk, and it's just like, there's a huge chunk of movie there where it's just the Next Generation crew. And on top of that, they didn't get a director that could make action films work. I mean, David Carson is more known for what he did with the Star Trek universe, directing episodes of Next Generation as well as Voyager. He hasn't directed a movie since, going back to mostly TV work. And you needed to get somebody kind of like what you did with the other movies, like a Nicholas Meyer or Leonard Nimoy, someone who knows how to direct action for a film, and also manages to blend it with a lighter tone of comedy and drama to make it work. And he just didn't seem like the right choice here. There is a lot of plot holes in the story, too. Like, you can easily predict right away in the beginning that Kirk has to come in and assist the new captain, who's played by Ferris Bueller's friend from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Alan Ruck. But the ship has a lot of things missing and wouldn't be installed by Tuesday, as they say in a lot of this movie. It's just kind of like, so why didn't you wait until then to actually have this unveiling? I mean, it's just like, there are a lot of huge plot holes about this. Like Soren's obsession with the Nexus. You know, if he's so obsessed with the Nexus, why doesn't he just do what Cybok did in Final Frontier and just grab somebody's starship, just take it to the Nexus and be like, okay, do that. And it's just like, well, kind of in the movie, they do kind of explain that all the ships that go into the Nexus are either destroyed or severely damaged. So, yeah, there's a chance he wouldn't survive, but at the same time, the dude is still the bad guy, and wouldn't that really be that big of a deal? But, of course, we wouldn't have a movie to get to, but, I guess Sauron could have just gotten a spaceship and wore a spacesuit out into the Nexus and just go in there, or hell, they have transporter beams, just put Sauron in the transporter beam, and boom, he's there. You would expect the two guys that wrote this to understand the possibilities at hand here. Even some of the action scenes as a whole aren't really all that spectacular, with the main exception of the Enterprise getting taken down by the Klingons. I mean, that's still something that still feels very genuine. It's something done with mostly practical effects. It still looks incredible after all these years, and that leads to stuff I do like about the movie. The visual effects, for the most part, are still very impressive. They do give the movie a bigger feel from the TV show, and a lot of the action, and even though the action sequences aren't that strong, the visuals do make up for it. Chemistry overall with the cast is very good. I liked it. Is like, even though the scenes with Kirk and Picard aren't all that great, you still get a lot of fun watching Shatner and Stewart working off each other. The dramatic moments are nicely handled as well. I like the way they handle Picard's story with his family and all that. And it's a very mixed bag of a movie. It's a film where there's a lot of good, interesting ideas. There's a lot of good set pieces and all around. But it's tied down to a lackluster script with a lot of plot holes, bad music, bad action sequences, and kind of a waste of a good crossover. It certainly isn't the best movie for the Next Generation team to start the film series on, but at least to their credit, the movies that came after this got better. Okay, maybe the next movie got better, and then after that, not so much. But at least the next movie did turn out to be a much better film, and we'll get to that one in '96. But yeah, Star Trek Generations is a real mixed bag, to say the least. So with that said, let's move on to the next movie finally, and that is Jean Reno starring in Luc Besson's Leon the Professional.
Let's talk business. This guy comes to town every Tuesday. Are you free Tuesday?
Yeah, I'm free Tuesday.
You can't stop what you can't see.
This guy came from the outside. He was a pro. He was fast.
In the art of the kill, Leon was the master.
Somebody's coming up. Somebody's serious.
He never missed a hit. He never got caught.
You're indestructible. Bullets slide off you. You play with them.
And above all else, he never had a reason to care. Until now.
I like these calm little moments before the storm.
My family was shot down by DEA officers.
3 kids here. One of them is missing. Find her.
Please open the door. Please.
From the director of La Femme Nikita.
Don't help me, I'll die tonight. I can feel it.
An innocent girl with no one else to turn to.
What exactly do you do for a living?
Cleaner.
You mean you're a hitman? Cool.
A perfect assassin.
I need you to help me, Leon. I want to get those dirtbags who killed my brother.
With someone to finally believe in.
Change ain't good. Remember that, Leon. I will.
They're about to come face to face with the cop who's crossed the line.
Bring me everyone. What do you mean, everyone?
Okay, so something I never knew about this particular film is that I always thought it was a remake of an older film by Luc Besson, and they brought him in to direct the American version of it. But no, this is an original concept of a film, even though the premise has been done to death several times since this movie came out. I think A Proud Mary, but unlike that movie, which is an utter waste of a film, this movie really does make it work well. You like the characters of you're following, like John Reno playing the hitman, Natalie Portman playing the little girl that's in this, and Gary Oldman plays a great villain, even though he has a lot of good over the top moments, like that scene in there where he's talking about getting everybody. He's screaming at the top of his lungs, "Everyone!" Like he's enunciating the word so that he means everyone. Get everyone here, and it's just like. It's a funny scene. It's a very funny scene that probably was meant to be taken seriously, but how can you not laugh whenever you hear Gary Oldman say that like that? It's just like, overall, yeah, this is a very fun action movie. It's a ton of fun to watch. Has a lot of great action sequences, a great visual style to it, some really good music, good casting all around. I enjoy this movie a whole lot. Leon the Professional is a great film, so... Anyway, let's move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is the remake of Miracle on 34th Street.
If you've ever seen a shooting star, held a newborn baby in your arms, or made a wish that came true, you know miracles happen every day. You just have to know where to look. This Christmas, expect a miracle.
This is probably one of the most underrated Christmas movies ever made. I mean, I know probably going into this movie there was a lot of people that were dreading it because how dare you remake a classic film like Miracle on 34th Street, and in a way, yeah, they're kind of right, but at the same time, they were able to find a lot there to work with. They were able to find a lot of ways to modernize the story and actually kind of make it better than the original film at parts. Like, I went into this movie very much thinking that I probably will enjoy it. I won't think it's probably anything near as good as the original film, but I find myself enjoying this one maybe a little bit more than the original film. It's very close, but like they do a really good job of remaking this story to a modern generation, and it's a well-made film. I think Richard Attenborough fits the role of Santa Claus here very well. Mara Wilson fits the role of the little girl here very well. I like Elizabeth Perkins and Dylan McDermott playing the love interest in here. You have J.T. Walsh, James Remare, Robert Prosky in here. Just a phenomenal cast in here. And John Hughes does a very good job of modernizing the story and making it work for a new generation. And I like the way they actually changed the ending around where it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel hammy, or it doesn't feel like it's just sent them there to change they're just changing it because they feel like they need to change it. No, they actually have a purpose for changing it around here. And I like that it actually serves a purpose to the actual story here. Not to say that the one in the original film is bad. It's a classic ending, but what they do here is actually very unique and very different. And I like what they did here, and it doesn't feel manipulative or forced. Nothing about this feels forced onto you, like it's something that they want you to get a cheap emotion out of. They're actually trying, and it actually does work for the most part. How many times can I actually say actually? But yeah, this is one that I don't think gets as much attention as I think it does. I think it has grown a little bit of a following now that Disney has bought Fox, and they've seemed to have put this movie now on every year during the Freeform 25 Days of Christmas thing, so it is slowly but surely starting to find an audience again, and I'm glad it is, because it's a very underrated movie. It's one of John Hughes' more underrated movies from the time after the Home Alone movies came out. I think it's a very good, well-made film. If you didn't get to see it this past Christmas, I say definitely check it out this holiday season, because you actually might be missing out on something very unique and very creative. It's a nicely made film, and it does make some changes that actually do kind of work to what they're trying to do here, and I think it works very well. I'd highly recommend checking out Miracle on 34th Street. With that said, let's move on to the next movie, and that is the animated feature, The Swan Princess.
Maybe I should just try the first line until you're sure that the attitude's right.
I think we need to start laying him down.
Okay, let's try that.
John Cleese, 22, take 1.
We are paying this respected professional
Any more comments before I start running?
to act like a fraud.
How do I get myself talked into these things?
A fraud who thinks he's a prince.
Voila! They call me Your Highness.
Trying to save a swan.
Hold up!
To the rescue, mademoiselle! A swan who's really a princess.
Princess Odette.
And that's just for starters. The Swan Princess, featuring the voices of John Cleese.
Sure, go on, John Bob. Race to your death.
Sandy Duncan.
No, it can't be.
Jack Palance.
Had to be sneaky, didn't you?
And Stephen Wright. In a fresh spin on a classic fairy tale.
Derek.
A magical, musical, animated adventure. The Swan Princess.
Would you believe me if I told you the same person that directed this movie also did Alpha and Omega? You probably wouldn't, but yeah, he did. And actually, before this movie, The Swan Princess, he was actually working. He was actually one of the people who worked at Disney. Like, he started his career off in the mailroom in the 70s, and then he was chosen to do assistant directing on such works as such films as Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2, The Rescuers, Pete's Dragon, The Small One. He co-directed The Fox and the Hound. He directed The Black Cauldron. He's a notable director, and he definitely shows that he has worked at Disney before, because they do a pretty good job of kind of mimicking the Disney feel for the most part here with the animation here. It's nice animation. I just wish there was a better story to tell with it, and a better story, better songs, just better characters overall, because the characters in this movie really are not that creative or interesting. Like, you have a good cast here that includes Jack Palance, John Cleese, Stephen Wright, Sandy Duncan, and most of these characters do not fit the roles that they're in whatsoever. And the main characters themselves, Odette and Derek, are not really all that investing or all that exciting. But it really doesn't work. I think the animation is the best thing about the movie, but everything else about it just kind of makes it forgettable. Like, it doesn't really have a good soundtrack. The songs are not that great or memorable. The villain's not a memorable character. The actors in here, they're trying their best, but the characters just aren't fun to watch whatsoever. It's a bore of a film for the most part. And despite that, this movie should have done better. I mean, this movie came out around the holidays. It only made $9 million off a $21 million budget, and it's not like anybody else was putting anything out. I mean, it wasn't like Disney decided to just try to screw with them and re-release the biggest movie of all time at that point.
It's the motion picture that made history. Most successful animated movie of all time. Yeah. This holiday season, the excitement begins again. Disney Pictures presents a very special encore celebration. The Lion King. The magic is back. The roar returns. One final time, The Lion King. Returning to theaters everywhere, November 18th.
Oh yeah, they did just that. They actually put The Lion King out back in theaters for the holiday season, and I heard that what actually happened was a Goofy movie was supposed to come out on the same weekend, but because there were some problems in the editing process and the animation, they actually pushed it back to spring. But come on, man, you know exactly what they were doing. They had The Lion King out there. It was the holiday season. It was still in theaters in some areas, and they said, you know what, let's put it back in theaters again. And it's like, I don't think they really were afraid that this movie was actually going to make a mark at the box office as big as theirs, but that's still kind of petty on Disney's part to do just that, to put a re-release of The Lion King out on the same weekend as this. It's just like, you know what you were doing, and hey, it worked. Lion King actually made twice as much as The Swan Princess did on its opening weekend, so mission accomplished, I guess. But yeah, that was kind of a dick move on their part. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much all I got to say about The Swan Princess. Let's move on to the next movie, and that is To Live.
3 decades in the life of a family. They must face the pain of loss. They'll find hope in the promise of their children. And they will struggle with the chaos of revolution.
So here you have another Chinese dramatic film, directed by Zhang Yimou. We've looked at a couple of his movies before. He's best known for working on the movie Hero. The film basically follows a couple who are going through the tumultuous periods of modern Chinese history, from the Chinese Civil War in the 40s to the Cultural Revolution. After going through these enormous personal difficulties and tragedies, the couple survives and endures, witnessing the vast changes of modern China. And that's pretty much all I know about it, because I have not seen this movie, and I just read that description off of the Wikipedia page. I mean, the visual looks pleasing, and it does, and these movies do look pretty good. I just never really have any real interest to actually go out and see them, but I would probably go see this movie if I had a chance to. I think it looks like it could be a decent film, and I wish I had more to say about that one, but that's pretty much all I got for you on that one. So I will say that some notable things about this movie: the film was actually denied a theatrical release in China because of the critical portrayal of various policies and campaigns of the government, such as the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution. But the film has been made available in China for years now through streaming websites, so you want to watch it, go stream it. I guess that's probably your best way to see it. But yeah, so that's To Live. So let's move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is Peter Jackson's Heavenly Creatures.
They were two young girls living in a world of imagination.
I'm going to the fourth world. It's an absolute paradise of music, art, and pure enjoyment.
What they had was friendship.
What a disgrace you are.
Your mother is rather a miserable woman.
What they needed was freedom.
Do you like your mother?
No.
What they shared was a secret.
Your daughter's been behaving in a rather disturbed manner.
What's she done?
I think I'm going crazy.
I'm sure it's perfectly innocent.
The crime that shocked the nation.
People die every day. We, the best people, fight against all obstacles in pursuit of happiness.
Paul thought it up.
Aren't you clever?
We're not going to be separated.
She's uncontrollable.
Based on a true story.
It's all frightfully romantic.
Heavenly Creatures.
This is actually one of the few Peter Jackson movies I have never seen. This is based off of the notorious 54 Parker Home murder case in Christchurch. The film focuses on these two girls played by Kate Winslet and Melanie Linsky. It culminates in the murder of Parker's mother. The events span the period between 1952 and the murders in 1954. Like I said, I haven't seen this movie, so I unfortunately can't really comment on it too much, but it's Peter Jackson, and I probably will see it at some point. But the visuals in here look very interesting, and it looks like a very, very weird, very bizarre-looking film that kind of works to Jackson's strengths as a filmmaker. Visually pleasing to look at, while also having this dark style to it. And, yeah, like I said, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on it, but it's one I definitely want to check out at some point, since I like Peter Jackson's work, so yeah, unfortunately, that's another quick one on this one, Heavenly Creatures.
It's impossible, it's not natural, and I'm not interested.
I took you for a scientist.
I am a scientist.
Yeah? Well, where's your vision? Opportunity's knocking here.
You're just trying to manipulate me.
Yes, I am. So what? We're on the verge of something fantastic, and I need you to carry it through with me.
What's going on?
Can you keep an open mind? I mean, really wide open?
Let's put a bun in your oven.
I must be crazy to be doing this.
You may be crazy, but you're also pregnant.
I'm pregnant. I just can't keep anything down.
It's morning sickness. It'll pass. Eat crackers.
Alex, you're sweating like a racehorse.
What's going on?
Everything's perfectly normal, except for the fact that the mom is also the dad.
You
She looks so beautiful tonight.
You look sort of glowing.
Yes, you do. You look positively lit up. What's the good news?
No good news. If this gets out, your life is over.
My nipples are very sensitive.
What?
Does my body disgust you?
No.
You're kissing? Wait a minute, with Alex, you're in no condition to start a relationship.
I want you to know everything about me. I'm pregnant.
From Universal Pictures and Ivan Reitman comes Something Inconceivable.
Oh, my God.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Feel how soft my skin is.
That's it.
Danny DeVito.
Guys do not have babies. We leave that to the women. That's part of the beauty of being a guy.
And Emma Thompson.
You think men don't hold enough cards? You have to take this away from us as well.
I would love, protect, and nurture that milk with everything I've got in me.
Stop it.
No, I don't stop it. I want my baby.
Junior.
Is this your first?
Yes.
This year, Labor Day is November 23rd.
But I have nothing to wear.
Sadly, this was the movie that broke Ivan Reitman's strong streak of comedies. I mean, he had done so many great movies: Meatballs, Stripes, Ghostbusters. Even his lesser stuff like Legal Eagles, Ghostbusters 2. He did stuff like Twins, Kindergarten Cop, Dave. This was the one that really kind of turned it down a bit. Like, this was part of his downward stretch that he had in the latter half of the '90s, and it there was that little bit of a lull, because before this movie came out, Ivan Reitman was one of the great comedy directors, and I think he still is one of the great comedy directors, but this was the first real misfire from him, because it's an idea that has a lot of good possibilities, good ideas for comedy, and I mean, you got Schwarzenegger and DeVito reuniting once again, and they were great in Twins, but man, this movie is just dull. Like, it's a dull movie, and even when it gets exciting at points in this, it's downright terrifying. I mean, the image of this dream sequence that Arnold Schwarzenegger has in this movie still just like etches inside of your head. Like, what were they thinking? Like, you know how you go back, you know how you're a kid and you watch these movies and then that scary scene comes up and you just never want to watch the movie again because you know that scene's going to come up, and then later on in life, and when you're an adult, you go back to it and you realize that, oh, that's not really all that scary. But no, this scene here still scares the crap out of me after all these years. It's just like, it's just so like, imagine that recent Snapchat commercial that was on during the championship games yesterday in the NFL, but in this movie. That's how bad it is. Like, it's just like, I don't even want to think about it, but I could let that slide maybe if the movie actually worked with the premise that it had, but it's a dull movie, and I think it's because these two writers have never really written any comedy before. I've never heard of this writer, Chris Conrad. Kevin Wade is a name I'm familiar with because that's right. He wrote a Working Girl. I keep forgetting that he wrote that, but he also wrote stuff like True Colors, Mr. Baseball, Meet Joe Black, Made in Manhattan. So he does have a repertoire to his name, but I don't know if they just I just don't know if they were the right writers for this, or just they didn't know what kind of a movie they wanted to make, because it's a dull comedy for a good majority of the film. You would think a movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger is pregnant and going to give birth to a baby could lead to a lot of comic possibilities, and from the same people that made the last movie that he worked so well in comedy with Kindergarten Cop and Twins, and nothing. Like, this is a dull movie. It's just a movie that's so boring, so lifeless, and you're just kind of like, what happened? Like, what happened to Ivan Reitman that made him say, you know what, this could be the good time for me to make my first terrible movie? And it's just like, I mean, the possibilities are there, and like I said, this is an idea that could have some good potential for some good comedy, and they've actually tried to do this once before. I remember back, as I looked this up, and I saw that back in the 70s, Billy Crystal started a movie where it was kind of a similar premise, directed by Joan Rivers. It was called Rabbit Test, where Billy Crystal was the one who was giving birth to a baby, and that one didn't work out so well either. But I saw where they were going, and judging from the little bit that I saw after I found this movie out, it definitely looked like it could have been something. Like, it could have been something interesting. Maybe not a great movie overall, but certainly a lot better than this movie here, which is like a really lackluster film. Like, it just doesn't work. It's a movie that's just really, really so boring for most of the time, and like, it's hard. It's a disappointment that the only memorable thing about this movie is one of the most nightmarish things you will ever see. That's just depressing about this movie, and it's just not a good movie. It's not a very good comedy. It's a disappointment considering the talent involved here and the director that's involved here. It's the first major misfire for Ivan Reitman as a filmmaker. I mean, I've liked a lot of his movies before this, and I have liked a lot of movies that he's made after this, but this is the first real downfall for him as a filmmaker. This is the one that was the first major film that he made that was just like, yeah, this isn't very good. So, yeah, that's Junior for you. So let's move on to the next movie, and that is Keenen Ivory Wayans starring in A Low Down Dirty Shame.
Hey. Everybody, one by one, put your guns on the table. You guys don't want to mess with me. I just got fired from the post office. I can flip out and kill everybody in this room.
They call him Shame. He's a private investigator who just wants to leave his past behind.
Will you be joining us for lunch, sir?
No, I think I'm going to have mine to go.
But his past...
You tried to take my business, my life, and my woman.
...is about to catch up with him.
Now, I told you he'll be right down here.
Look at yourself, Shane. You're taking on suicide jobs just to make a buck.
Now, I've only got 3 days.
I'll find them too.
He's got something to prove.
Blink and black will be the last thing you see.
Someone to protect.
Just promise me you're gonna smoke his...
Like a pack of cools.
A new partner to break in.
You telling me Mike Tyson can beat Muhammad Ali?
That's right.
Mike Tyson can't spell Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali can't even spell Muhammad Ali.
And some occupational hazards to avoid.
He's with me. Coffee's good with cream, but better when it's black.
When it comes to stopping criminals.
Good news is you're only 5 miles from East LA. The bad news is it's that way.
Some cops do it by the book.
I love Mexican food. Kicking butts always makes me hungry.
But he's no cop.
He gonna make me go home and slap my mama.
He's a low-down, dirty Shame. Caravan Pictures presents...
May I take your order, please?
Keenen Ivory Wayans.
If you sing James Brown songs, dogs will not attack.
A low-down, dirty Shame.
All the dogs on the left, throw your hands from side to side. All the dogs on the right, go. Here we go. Watch for now.
Speaking of really talented comedic people who really fell off after their last movie, what happened to Keenen Ivory Wayans with this movie? I mean, this was his big follow-up to I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. This is a movie he directed, he wrote it, and you thought, okay, this is the same guy that made a really great film, and I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, and also was on A Living Color. Let's see what he can do with this, and he just really, I don't know what the hell he was thinking with this. There was a brief period where I think he wanted to believe that he was good enough to be an action star, like an action comedy star, something on the lines of Bruce Willis maybe, but I don't know. This was one that just didn't work. It didn't work on a number of levels. And it didn't work mostly because the movie just doesn't shut up. Every single moment in this movie, somebody's either talking, somebody's acting like a stereotype, somebody's trying to put up a lame joke, there's an action sequence going on. The movie never takes any time at all to, like, slow down and just actually tell a story. And it's just like, it just doesn't work. It's a movie that's just so annoying. It just keeps going and going and going. And again, this is Keenen Ivory Wayans. I expect a lot better from Keenen Ivory Wayans than something like this. It's a film that just really tries way too hard to try to cross something that he hasn't done before, like doing an action movie, and it just fails on so many levels. I cannot believe how bad this movie was. I feel the same way about this movie as I kind of do with Junior. It's a film that you expect a lot more with the talent on board, but man, this is a major, major misfire for Keenen Ivory Wayans. But unfortunately, sadly, it's not the worst thing he's ever done, and we'll get to those when we enter the 2000s. But yeah, Low Down Dirty Shame is a low down dirty shame. So let's move on to the next movie, and that is The Pagemaster, starring Macaulay Culkin.
Fox invites you on the adventure of a lifetime in the most magical film of 1994. Richard Tyler is about to take an incredible journey. Out of the storm and into a world where imagination runs wild. Is only the beginning. Macaulay Culkin, the Page Master, all the adventure your imagination can hold.
It's Thanksgiving in the early 90s, so of course you've got to have your traditional Macaulay Culkin movie opening up during the holiday season. I mean, this is the fifth and the last year that would happen, but I think of The Page Master as one of those interesting failures. I remember watching the video for Once Upon a Forest all the time and looking at this movie and thinking that because when you watch Once Upon a Forest, you would get a preview for this movie showing you the behind-the-scenes process of the movie being made, and Fox was touting this as the big movie event of the holiday season. Like, this was supposed to be the big event. I mean, you got Macaulay Culkin, you got Christopher Lloyd, you've got this great animation, you've got this amazing soundtrack by James Horner, and this song that goes very well with the movie. It's produced by the same guy that created The American Tale, David Kirshner. But the end result is just a movie that has a lot of high ambitions, but really falls flat. I mean, I'll start with the positives because the animation overall is very good. Like, I really can go back to this movie just to watch the animation alone. I think it's very well done. It's Turner Feature Animation doing what they do best, and they actually made a really good looking movie. The casting as a whole isn't really all that bad either. Although you can tell that this movie was made before Macaulay Culkin hit puberty, because a month later he would do Richie Rich, where he definitely sounded a lot like a teenager than he does in this movie. I mean, here it's that Home Alone Culkin that sounds just as he does in those movies, and then in Richie Rich he sounds like he's a little bit older. And Christopher Lloyd isn't a bad choice for the Page Master either, but there are times where you expect Chris Hansen to catch a predator to come in and say, "Sir, can we talk to you? Why don't you have a seat over there?" Because, oh boy, he has scenes in this movie that'll make you go, "I need an adult because this is so fucked up right now." But the voice work by Whoopi Goldberg, Patrick Stewart, and Frank Welker as the books, I think they're nicely done. I think they do a very, very good job with that. The cast overall is pretty good. The soundtrack overall is very good. You've got the great James Horner the late great James Horner doing the music for this, and you got a pretty good song with Whatever You Imagine, which plays in the movie. And the moral of the film isn't that bad either. You want to get this movie is trying to get kids to read more, which is a noble cause, but the execution just doesn't come together to make the lessons entertaining or serve a purpose for the intended audience of the kids, not the parents. But, like, for example, Richard comes across the three books, and he comes across these characters within these adventures: Dr. Jekyll, Long John Silver, Moby Dick. But they're kind of just watered down to being sort of like video game characters in a movie or antagonists. Like, they don't really do a whole lot. They're just there to kind of be filler for like a couple of minutes and then on to the next adventure. And, Richard Tyler obviously had to have read books to know as much as he does in his life before he goes on this magical adventure, because where's he getting these statistics and safety etiquette tips from? I mean, 1994, the internet wasn't that big of a thing yet. It wasn't a wide outlet yet. So where's he getting all this information from? Books. So he's already a bookworm for this. What's the point of him going on this adventure? To overcome his fears? Because I know in the real world you got to deal with guys like Dr. Jekyll, pirates, dragons, giant whales. Don't all kids do that? Hell, Christopher Lloyd as the bookkeeper in this movie is more terrifying in the real world than anything that happens in this adventure. The adventure itself is pointless because Richard goes through all this to make himself a better person when he was already invested in books. Like, how does anything he went through make him steer away from being a social outcast? I mean, how is anything he's faced going to come into effect in the real world? It makes no sense whatsoever, and that to me is where the movie fails to entertain. It almost has enough there to make it work, but the story is so disjointed, and the morals have no merit, if nothing that happens that is supposed to help this kid out in the real world. And from what I've seen, it's another one of those movies that had a lot of studio interference. They actually re-edited the film without the director Joe Johnston, who did Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and the story changes were so prevalent during the production of the film. This is another one of those movies where the promise and potential was there, but the studio got involved, and the final project didn't turn out to work out well at all. It's a film that clearly could have worked. The talent was there, the cast was solid, the animation was solidly done, but the script, handling the lesson, and the moral of the story, it just sticks out like a sore thumb, and it's something that just irks me right every time I see this movie. It doesn't come together as well as I think they wanted it to, and I know there are people out there who grew up with the movie who still have that feel of love for it because of nostalgic, regardless of how bad it is, and I can't blame them for that. I mean, I feel the same way about a lot of movies from this time period, including Space Jam. I mean, Space Jam is a mess of a film, but you know what? It's one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies, so I'll give it to you on that. And I'm not even saying that The Pagemaster is a bad film. It's just not handled well in the overall message and the story and what it wanted to and what the final message was supposed to be. There's potential here for something great, but it just didn't meet up to the fullest of the potential that it had. It's a disappointment on so many levels. Like I said, there are things I do like about it, but just overall, I just can't really recommend it. It's a shame, too, because there is a lot there that to admire, but just the execution didn't work out well at all, so I've gone on long enough about that one. That's The Pagemaster. Let's move on to the next movie, and that is Mrs. Parker and the Vicious Cycle, not starring Paul Newman. I got that confused with another movie on yesterday's show, but this one stars Jennifer Jason Leigh and is directed by Alan Rudolph.
So I read your new piece in the Smart Set over and over again, Bobby. It was wonderful.
Oh, sweet, Ross. Didn't he understand it the first time?
I think this hotel's always been very lucky for writers, Mrs. Parker.
New York in the roaring 20s.
Cops are here. Everybody speak easy.
The playground of a celebrated circle of friends.
You almost look like a man today, Edna.
So do you, Alec.
At the center of the circle was the beautiful and irrepressible Dorothy Parker.
Miss Parker, this is Will Rogers.
I never liked a man I didn't meet.
Everyone wanted to know what was on Mrs. Parker's mind.
Oh, dear. Isn't being a subject in danger of turning to sex?
But no one ever guessed what was in her heart.
She really knows how to suffer.
He can't be suffering and still say all those funny things.
Afraid I might lose you.
You'd have to wear out a pretty large hole in your pocket to lose me, Mrs. Parker.
I fall in love with married men, but I do it on purpose. He's wild and mad and fleet. I may have him mounted.
Yes, one would assume.
I drink too much, and that's because I'm thirsty.
Oh, Mrs. Parker, I suppose it didn't work.
Suppose it did. And I write doodads because it's a doodad kind of town.
Starring Jennifer Jason Leigh as Dorothy Parker, Matthew Broderick as Charles MacArthur, and Campbell Scott as Robert Benchley.
You'd never walk out on your marriage, would you? You know, heaven help me, I can't shut my face. I can't do it.
Yeah, let me try.
This is one that's kind of an underrated gem. Jennifer Jason Leigh plays Dorothy Parker. I think she does a very good job playing that character. And got a great cast overall here. Campbell Scott, Matthew Broderick, Peter Gallagher, Jennifer Beals, Andrew McCarthy, Wallace Shawn, Martha Plimpton. The first of two movies she's in this weekend. Lily Taylor, Gwyneth Paltrow's in here, Nick Cassavetes, Heather Graham. A phenomenal cast, a really good movie that looks visually pleasing. Like, they really do capture the 10s and 20s very well here. And it's a really good film. It works mostly because of the people that are involved here. Like Jennifer Jason Leigh, I think, really does sell the film overall. And it is a very intriguing story. I think it's one of the best films that Alan Rudolph has directed. And yet it's one that I don't think a lot of people really talk about all that much. But it is a very good film. I highly recommend checking it out. You may be actually pleasantly surprised by the time you see it. So, quick one there. That's Mrs. Parker and the Vicious Circle. Let's move on to the next movie that we have here, if I get it up here real quick, and that is Love in a 45.
Oh, the sacrament of our own blood, that we would die before falling into the hands of Allah. 'Cause dying free is better than living in a cage.
Do you love me, Wa?
More than anything.
More than a preacher loves God.
More than Jimmy Swaggart loves to swag. I'm Waddy Watts. Her name is Starlene Cheatham. We specialize in risk management.
I plumb forgot all about my wife.
So it's Bonnie and Clyde 1994. I mean, that's pretty much the concept of Bonnie and Clyde. It's a modern-day version of Bonnie and Clyde. And we had a couple of these in 94. We had Natural Born Killers, which I think is the far superior film, but I don't know. I mean, this one actually might not be so bad. It's one of Renee Zellweger's earliest film roles. Gil Bellows from Ally McBeal and The Division is in here as well. Jeffrey Combs, Rory Cochrane, Peter Fonda. Decent cast overall. I haven't really seen it, so I can't really comment on it too much, but I got the sense that this was kind of their attempt to try to make the new Bonnie and Clyde for the 90s, and I just think there were other movies that did it better, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe this actually is worth something, but can't really say too much more about it because I haven't seen it, but yeah. So that's my thoughts on Love and a 45. So let's move on to the last movie, and that is The Beans of Egypt, Maine.
Every once in a while, a movie comes along that will warm your heart, touch your soul,
We have a present for you.
and make you feel just how good it can be to be a family.
Let's talk about sex.
But this family's different.
Thanks.
Very different.
Are you my mother? You're a lucky boy. You got a bunch of mothers.
For Earlene Parmalau, living next door to the Beans was better than watching TV.
Not all bad.
No bean ever came to no good. Don't you ever forget that.
Get up and see this!
Why are they coming here?
Ready to arrest Ruby Bean, looks like.
Praise God.
Martha Plimpton,
No secrets, you know. Maybe you think so, Mr. Secret, but half the kids in this house are yours. Anybody can tell. They all look just like you.
Kelly Lynch,
Ain't no wonder most women just flop right down for you. Oh, my God.
Rutger Hauer, and Patrick McGowan.
Get out of my bed.
You'll never let me see my face again.
From the internationally acclaimed best-selling novel by Carolyn Shue.
What are you thinking about?
Wicked work.
The story of a most unusual
You should feel proud. You're carrying a bean.
family.
Beans are the tackiest, rat-eating people in the entire world.
The Beans of Egypt, Maine. Once you've met them,
I'm charming to live this way.
you'll never forget them.
What'd you do this time?
I got into a fight.
Another one I haven't really seen, so I can't really talk about it too much. But like I said, this is the second movie that has Martha Plimpton in it this week. Also with Kelly Lynch, Rutger Hauer, Richard Sanders, directed by Jennifer Warren. I mean, it could be something, but it's not something I'd want to rush out to see, honestly. But like I said, it could be something interesting. I haven't really heard about it, so yeah, another quick one on this one. It's because I really can't add anything more to this one if I haven't seen it. So other than the fact that why do I keep pausing for some reason? I don't know what I'm doing, but the original title of this was, or I guess an alternate title for this is Forbidden Choices. That's probably interesting, but I don't know. The Beans of Egypt, Maine sounds like a decent title for it, and really, I wish I could add some more to it, but that's kind of all I have to say about this one. So there you go, The Beans of Egypt, Maine.